I spent 10 years in prison. My daughter ignored me at the grocery store until I handed her the diary. The snow was falling light that December afternoon in Portland, Oregon. I'd just gotten off my shaw. I decided to stop by the Safeway on the corner. Needed milk, bread, and maybe an apple if I had enough left over. Luxuries were relative now. 10 years ago, I walked into grocery stores without checking price tags. Today, every cent in my pocket had a name and a purpose. That's when I saw her. Melissa was standing in the organic produce aisle. My daughter had always been picky about food, even as a kid. Now, at 32, she was wearing this camel-colored wool coat that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her blonde hair was perfect, pulled back in an elegant bun. My heart started pounding. 10 years, a whole decade since I'd seen her in person. I'd written 127 letters from prison, counted every single one, never got a response. I moved closer, slowly, gripping my basket with shaking hands. "Melissa?" My voice came out weaker than I wanted. She looked up. For just a split second, I saw recognition flash in her eyes. Those brown eyes she got from her father. But then she just looked away, like I was invisible, like I didn't exist. "Melissa, it's me, your mom." She dropped the quinoa into her cart and started walking away, fast. "Please, just give me 1 minute. I'm sorry, you must have me confused with someone else." Her voice was cold, controlled. She didn't even look back. I stood there in the middle of that aisle, holding my pathetic little basket, while my daughter disappeared behind the cereal display. The girl I'd rocked to sleep 1,000 nights, who I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd cried in my arms when her first boyfriend broke her heart. An elderly woman rolled past me. "You all right, honey?" "Yeah, I'm fine," I lied, wiping away tears. But I wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. Because for 10 years in prison, I'd survived on one certainty, that when I got out, I'd explain everything, that my daughter would hear me out, that the truth would finally come to light. But she wouldn't even look me in the eye. And right then, standing on that cold grocery store floor, I understood I'd need something more than words. I'd need the diary, that diary I'd kept for 10 years, hidden under my cell mattress. 437 handwritten pages of truth that nobody wanted to hear at trial. Truth that could change everything. I walked the 15 minutes to my tiny apartment in Northeast Portland, 300 square feet that smelled like mold and had heat that barely worked. The diary was in an old shoebox in my only closet, brown leather cover worn down. I opened to the first page. March 16th, 2014. First day at Cedar Hills. Melissa didn't come see me before trial. Can't blame her. If I believed what they're saying about me, I wouldn't come either. I closed my eyes. 10 years felt like forever and a heartbeat at the same time. Let me back up, because none of this makes sense without you understanding how I ended up there. My name's Margaret Helen Carter. I'm 58 now, but I was 48 when they locked me up. Spent the last decade at Cedar Hills Correctional Institution, Oregon's women's prison. The charge? Assault with a deadly weapon against my ex-husband, Richard Carter, resulting in serious injury. The truth? I did 10 years protecting someone I loved, taking responsibility for an accident that happened in the worst possible circumstances. Richard and I got married back in '85, up in Seattle. I was 21, fresh out of nursing school. He was 26, working as a sales manager at a car dealership. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Melissa was born in '91. Best thing that ever happened to me. For 15 years, everything was good. I worked as a nurse at Providence Portland Medical Center. Richard climbed the corporate ladder. We bought a house in Lake Oswego. Nice neighborhood, great schools. Melissa grew up with everything I never had. Piano lessons, dance classes, summer camps, security. But something broke in Richard around 2008. The financial crisis destroyed the dealership. He got laid off. His sense of self-worth completely collapsed. The marriage became difficult, tense. He started drinking heavily. Arguments became regular, cruel words, the kind of environment where you walk on eggshells every day. I stayed because I kept thinking it would get better. I hid it for 2 years. Melissa was in college at University of Oregon by then. Thank God she was far away from the worst of it. Until that night in March 2014, Richard had been drinking more than usual, unemployed for 5 months. We were living off my nursing salary, which had become a constant source of resentment. Melissa had come home that weekend. She'd graduated a year earlier, working at a marketing agency in Portland. She wanted to talk about her future. Richard's reaction was harsh, said cruel things about how she'd end up disappointed, how nothing worked out. The words got meaner, more personal. I asked Melissa to go upstairs, told her I'd handle it. She hesitated, but eventually went. What happened next is something I've replayed 1,000 times. Richard was agitated, pacing, saying things that made no sense. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Melissa had come back down, holding the old baseball bat from the hallway closet. "Dad, you need to calm down," she said, voice shaking. Everything happened so fast. Richard moved toward her. Melissa panicked. In her fear, trying to protect me, she reacted. The bat made contact. Richard went down. There was blood on our oak floor. Melissa dropped the bat, shaking uncontrollably. "Mom, I didn't mean..." I went into autopilot. 25 years as a nurse. Richard was breathing, unconscious but alive. I called 911, and in the 4 minutes before the ambulance arrived, I made the decision that would define the next decade. "Melissa, listen, you're gonna say you were upstairs, asleep, didn't hear anything. But Mom, you're 24 years old, your whole life ahead of you." This was an accident born from fear, but they won't see it that way. I'm 48. I've already lived most of my life. Tears streaming down her face. "You were upstairs. You heard nothing. Understand?" She nodded. Barely. I wiped her fingerprints off the bat, put mine on it. The sirens were getting close. "Go upstairs now." She went. I waited. Police, ambulance, questions, handcuffs. "Ma'am, what happened?" "We had an argument. Things got out of hand. I grabbed the bat. It was me." Richard survived. Severe head trauma, but he survived. Had lasting effects, memory issues, coordination problems, and he pressed charges. His sister Monica paid for an expensive lawyer. My public defender was overwhelmed with cases, did his best, but it wasn't enough. He tried arguing self-defense in a dangerous situation, but there were no formal records, no police reports, no documented evidence of what our home had become. "Just my word against Richard's," Melissa testified. Said she was asleep upstairs, didn't see or hear anything, lied for me in court. After they handed down the sentence, 10 years, she never looked at me the same way again. Last time I saw her was through the courtroom glass. She was crying, but she didn't come talk to me. And for 10 years, no visits, no letters answered, no calls accepted. Cedar Hills was hard, not because of prison life itself, but because of my daughter's silence. I wrote my first letter 3 days after arriving. "Dear Melissa, I know you're confused, but I needed to do what I did. One day you'll understand. Please write me. With all my love, Mom." No response. I wrote every week. After 6 months, letters came back stamped. "Recipient refuses to accept." That's when I started the diary. If she wouldn't listen, I'd write everything. Every day, every truth. So that one day, maybe, she'd read it and understand. September 12, 2014. Met a woman named Rose today. She's 63, been here 18 years for defending herself. Her children don't talk to her anymore. They say she should have just left. Like it's that simple. December 25th, 2014, Christmas. My sister Dorothy says Melissa's engaged, getting married in June. I wasn't invited. I'll miss my daughter's wedding. But I also discovered things during those years, important things. An inmate named Carla, former pharmacy tech, told me something crucial. Head trauma typically causes retrograde amnesia. People often can't remember the incident clearly. If Richard testified with vivid details, that's medically unusual. So either his memory was unreliable or someone had helped him remember a version of events. Through other connections, I learned more. A neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, had called police 3 times in 2 years before the incident, reporting concerning sounds from our house. 3 documented calls that were never introduced at trial. And Richard had a $500,000 life insurance policy with Melissa as beneficiary. His lawyer had used this, implying I'd deliberately harmed Richard so Melissa could inherit. Complete fiction. I hadn't even known about it. Every discovery went into the diary. 437 pages of documented truth. I got out in March 2024. Exactly 10 years. My sister Dorothy picked me up, drove me to Portland, helped me get the tiny apartment and the Goodwill job. "How's Melissa?" I asked. "She's married to a lawyer named Trevor. I don't know if she'll see you." And she didn't. For 3 months, I lived in that moldy apartment, working for $8 an hour, trying to rebuild a life. Until that Thursday in December when I saw her at Safeway, when she pretended not to know me. When I realized I needed to give her the diary, whether she wanted it or not. I went back the following Thursday. Same time, 6 p.m. Melissa walked in at 6:03, went to the wine section, then frozen meals, no fresh food. She looked exhausted. At checkout, I made my move. "Melissa," she turned. That look again. Fear, maybe. Anger. "Please don't make a scene. I just need 1 minute. I have nothing to say to you." I pulled out the diary. Placed it on the counter between her groceries and the register. "Then don't say anything. Just read. I know about your father's life insurance. I know about the neighbor's calls that were never mentioned at trial. I know about the medical evidence. It's all in here." Her face went pale. "I took responsibility to protect you because you were young, and I couldn't let one terrible accident destroy your future." Tears fell. I couldn't stop them. Read the diary. "After that, if you still want me gone, I'll disappear. I promise." I stepped back. She slowly reached out and took it. "That's my number if you want to talk after." I walked out, didn't look back. 3 days of torture. Friday, no call. Saturday, no message. Sunday, I was dying inside. At 6:43 p.m., Sunday, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" Silence. Then, "Is it true? Everything you wrote?" "Melissa, every single word." "You really did that for me?" I would do it again. Long silence. Contained sobs. I didn't know any of it. The insurance, the neighbor's calls, the medical questions about Dad's memory. None of it. "I know. Why didn't you tell me?" I tried. 127 letters. I couldn't read them. I thought if I did, I'd fall apart. So I blocked everything. Blocked you. Blocked the guilt. "It wasn't your fault, sweetheart." "It was!" She was crying. "I caused the accident, and you went to prison. 10 years, Mom." And I would make the same choice again, because you're my daughter. Mothers protect their children, no matter what it costs. But who protected you? Silence. Just our breathing and tears. "Can I come over?" she finally asked. "You want to come here? I need to see you." 23 minutes later, she knocked, stood there with red eyes, holding the diary like something precious. "Hi," she said. "Hi." She hugged me. And we both broke down in the doorway, 10 years of pain pouring out. When we moved inside, she looked around, saw the poverty. "Mom, you live here?" "It's what I can manage. Meanwhile, I have a 2-bedroom in Pearl District, make 6 figures, and you're living like this. I'm alive, I'm free, and I'm with you. That's all that matters." She sat on my worn couch. "I've read it 3 times. There's so much I never knew. I never wanted you to carry guilt, but I ruined your life. No. I made a choice, and there's information in that diary that might change things. Grounds for appealing the conviction." She grabbed my hands. "Then we're going to fight this, together." Melissa found Mitchell Blackwood, an attorney who specialized in wrongful convictions. At our Wednesday meeting in his downtown office, he reviewed everything. "Your case is one of the most flagrant examples of inadequate legal representation I've seen," Mitchell said. "The hidden police records, the questionable medical testimony, the insurance misrepresentation. We have strong grounds. What are the chances?" I asked. 60 to 70%. I'll do this partially pro bono. Cases like this are why I became a lawyer. The investigation took 3 months. Mitchell found Mrs. Patterson, now 78, who gave a powerful deposition. I called police 3 times, saw her with Marks. When the ambulance came, They arrested the victim. It was wrong. 3 neurologists confirmed. Extremely unlikely Richard remembered the event clearly with that level of head trauma. Financial records showed Monica had paid Richard's lawyer, and we found Richard had a prior assault complaint from an ex-girlfriend in 1982. Mitchell filed a 247-page motion in June. The hearing was set for September 24, 2024. Walking into Multnomah County Court, Melissa held my hand. Mitchell presented everything: the police records, the neurological impossibility of Richard's testimony, the patterns. Then Mrs. Patterson testified in person. I knew something terrible would happen. I warned police 3 times. They arrested the victim. Judge Catherine Reynolds reviewed everything during a 30-minute recess. When she returned, my heart pounded. It's evident there were serious procedural failures in the original trial. The concealment of records, failure to contest questionable testimony, and inadequate representation constitute denial of due process. Melissa squeezed my hand hard. The motion for reversal is granted. Margaret Helen Carter's conviction is vacated. The state of Oregon offers formal apologies. The gavel hit. I collapsed. Melissa caught me. After 10 years, someone had finally listened. We left that courthouse under clear September sky. Reporters waited, but we didn't stop. Just walked to a nearby cafe, ordered real food, and for the first time in 10 years, I really laughed. What are you going to do now? Mitchell asked. I looked at Melissa. Live. 3 weeks later, Melissa invited me to dinner at her place. Her husband Trevor was there. Mrs. Carter, Melissa told me everything, he said. What you did was incredibly brave, and I want to apologize. When we met, I judged you based on incomplete information. You suffered for that. Thank you, I managed. There's one more thing, Melissa said. I contacted Dad. My blood froze. Richard? He's in a care facility in Beaverton. The complications got worse. He needs constant care, but he needs to know the truth. The next day we visited. Richard sat in a wheelchair by the window, 68, but looking 80, thin white hair, trembling hands. He looked at me. Margaret, you look different. 10 years'll do that. Melissa got straight to it. Dad, we need to talk about that night. You know Mom was exonerated. He nodded slowly. I saw it in the paper. Then, quietly, I always knew. What? Melissa's voice rose. I don't remember that night. Nothing. The doctors said it was expected. Head trauma, amnesia. But Monica, she paid the lawyer. They told me a story. Repeated it until I could tell it in court like it was memory. But it wasn't. It was a script. Melissa was shaking. You lied under oath? I was confused, angry, in pain. Monica was in my ear saying Margaret tried to kill me, and I was a puppet. When I realized what I'd done, it was too late. He looked at me with wet eyes. Why didn't I say anything after? Because I'm a coward. Always was. And because if I admitted it, everything I did before that night would come out. I'd be the monster. I didn't have the courage. He cried. I'm sorry. I know it's worth nothing, but I'm so sorry. You can't give back 10 years, I said calmly. But you can sign a formal statement admitting everything. He nodded. I'll do it. And he did. Mitchell prepared the document. Richard signed, notarized. My name was completely clear. By January 2025, I'd moved into Melissa's guest room temporarily while getting back on my feet. The best part wasn't the nice apartment. It was having coffee with my daughter every morning, watching movies together, recovering 10 years, one day at a time. Mitchell also got state compensation. Oregon paid $50,000 per year of unjust imprisonment. 10 years meant $500,000. I used part to buy a small apartment, another part to invest, and the rest to create Margaret's House, a nonprofit helping women ex-cons reintegrate, especially those imprisoned for defending themselves. Melissa managed administration. Trevor handled legal matters. I worked directly with the women because I understood their shame, their fear, their feeling that the world had forgotten them. One woman, Rose, 32, asked me, "How did you deal with getting out and nobody wanting you?" By finding who did want me and building new purpose. What if there's nobody? Then you have me and all of us here. That was it. Transforming pain into strength, injustice into justice for others. In April, Melissa helped me decorate my new place. We sat drinking tea when she asked, "Can I read the diary again?" I handed it to her. She opened randomly. April 23rd, 2017. Dreamed about Melissa. I hope she finds someone who treats her right, someone different from her father. My biggest fear, that she'll repeat the cycle. I almost did, Melissa admitted. My first marriage. Aaron was controlling. I accepted it because I thought that was love. Therapy helped me see I didn't want to end up like I thought you had, broken. But I didn't end up that way. No, you're stronger than anyone I know. She paused. You know what struck me most? You never lost hope. You always wrote like someday I'd read it, like we'd reconnect. You never gave up. Because you were my reason to breathe. She closed the diary. Can we publish this? Your story. So the system changes. So other women don't suffer like you did. I thought about it. My story, raw and exposed for the world. Scary, but important. Let's do it. Innocent, A Mother's Prison Diary was published in November 2025. Sold 50,000 copies the first month. Became a bestseller. Women wrote to me. Hundreds. Thousands. Your story saved me. Now I know I'm not alone. Thank you for speaking for us. Those 10 years, horrible, painful, unjust, had gained new meaning. They weren't just about me. They were about all of us. Women who defend themselves and get punished. Women who protect and get condemned. Women who survive and get called criminals. My voice became their voice. And the diary became testimony that it's possible to survive, to rise again, to transform injustice into purpose. Today, as I look out my apartment window, Melissa's arriving with my grandson Benjamin, born 3 months ago. I'll hold him, look into those new eyes, and whisper, "Your grandma fought hard to be here. Never forget that." Because that's what we do. We fight. We survive. We tell our stories so the next generation doesn't have to fight as hard. When Benjamin grows up and asks about Grandma Margaret, Melissa will hand him that worn diary, and he'll understand that true love isn't just being present. Sometimes, true love is being absent so the ones you love can be free. I did 10 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit, and I'd do it all over again because I'm a mother, and mothers protect, always.